when it gets to those surface streets is when it gets especially dangerous, running lights, running signs, and also there are pedestrians walking around. Staying on the freeway, at least you're staying amongst other vehicles, but they're really accelerating now. They have that open carpool lane, so sitting around 75, pushing towards 80 miles per hour right now. Where they're going, we don't know. The CHP is right on top of them, and eventually they are going to run into more traffic like right now.
Right.
This is really where it really starts to bog down here in east part of the 210 freeway.
And we're hearing that it started in Lakeview Terrace. He's slowing down behind a car in the carpool lane. The car right in front of him just coming. Oh, I see. Just coming to a stop because of the slow traffic. He's kind of boxed in there right now.
But he's going to work his way out. And as you can see, they're not going to force the situation, but they are staying behind him, and there are air units overhead as well. But the CHP now has taken over this pursuit. Keep in mind, they are burglary suspects. At least that's the preliminary report. Another CHP vehicle moving into position as they work their way, still weaving from the carpool lane to the middle lanes, and CHP right behind them. And they're finding these open spaces. Perhaps it's because they hear the lights and sirens coming, and folks are trying to get out of the way, like that vehicle right there, kind of opening it up. And this Mercedes moving pretty quickly when it can, so they still are bent on trying to get away. They're there on the shoulder yet again, using that maneuver to get around some of the tough traffic.
Yeah, it looks like I thought they might be exiting, but nope, they're going to just go right over back to the carpool lane. Wow. It's amazing how much they can maneuver and throughout this traffic. You know, when you're driving on a normal day, you can't get 10 miles an hour.
Well, we're not breaking the law either.
Yeah.
So these guys are continuing on over at the far side. They so far have not seemed too intent on taking surface streets or getting off the freeway, staying on the freeway. If they continue to go this direction, of course, they'll eventually get into the desert and get into Riverside and San Bernardino County. But right now, so far, their intent is staying on the 210 eastbound, not getting off and just weaving through all of this traffic, which will go for quite some time. This traffic goes all the way into, you know, as you head towards the desert.
And right now they're passing the Mount Olive Road. And I don't know if any exits are coming up, any other freeways are coming up, but I think they're stuck on the 210 eastbound for now.
Okay, so, and as you can see, there are big tractor trailers, a lot of folks on the go, and you know, we've gotten back into that heavy traffic time where kids are back in school, et cetera. Summer's basically over for a large swath of Southern California, so traffic really builds up like it normally does throughout the fall and winter. So coming out of summer, then the thin stuff is gone, the heavy stuff is back. And here we are in a pursuit and watching somebody trying to maneuver through all of this traffic.
Yeah, 42 miles an hour right now, at least a reasonable speed, not as dangerous as it was before. He's having pretty much the carpool lane is pretty empty. Yeah.
So they've been able to kind of maneuver their way through all of this, but the traffic will continue on for many miles. It's not like it's going to open wide up for them anytime soon. There you see there's a pickup truck right in front of them. But keep in mind, we don't know exactly who's in that vehicle, how many people. We do suspect at least 3 people. We don't know if they're armed, but being burglary suspects, are going to handle this very carefully. And we still have no idea what these guys are thinking, or even if they have a comfort place, because quite often we'll see a suspect eventually get to their home turf where they understand where the streets are and where they're going. This guy is just really just going straight on the 210 freeway.
Yeah, and you wonder how much they know about this suspect or suspects, if they could be part of one of those theft rings that we've been seeing, all the smash and grab robberies. You know, you don't really see 3 suspects in a car very often, one of these pursuits.
And we don't know how this pursuit started either. Maybe they were being cased or watched by detectives, or maybe this is something entirely different. Nevertheless, they're trying to get this car to pull over, and so far, no luck.
And he could go for miles on this freeway. We're not even to Irwindale yet, and still has lots of freeway before it gets to. I'm trying to think what is the next freeway.
Yeah, we'll look ahead.
The 605? Yeah, 605.
The 605 and the 57 also. So that is the direction that they're headed, but we'll see what they choose to take. Looking for a mile per hour now, and so far I don't have it, but he's moving pretty well. Yeah, 50. Thank you. 50s in the 50s. Not excessively fast, but he is passing by traffic pretty quickly.
It just shows you how slow traffic is if he's going 50 and passing all these cars.
Yeah, the rest of the folks are bogged down, but that carpool lane is really working in his favor right now. Not that he's going to be going anywhere that we can't get to as well, but he is maneuvering his way through, accelerating on the carpool lane, largely passing traffic, but not by any means getting away from the CHP.
And traveling through Vernon now, so he's made quite a bit of distance since started in Lakeview Terrace, and it hasn't been going on that long.
Two CHP vehicles behind him, three vehicles so far. Not a whole lot they can do either with all the other cars on the roadway. Sometimes if it's a wide open space, perhaps it's possible to pull something, a spike strip or something like that, but that only happens when it's a clear path, wide open road.
Right. Can't
No
do the
way
pit
to do
maneuver
anything.
either, so
Yeah.
it's just a matter of just tracking him and staying on his tail.
Right, and that's what we're doing as well. We're going to watch them continue to pursue him, going about 60 miles per hour in the carpool lane, which has remained fairly wide open at 6:28 in the evening, almost 6:30 in the evening, as this vehicle is just continuing to roll eastward. We believe it's a Mercedes-Benz, which does have some ability to maneuver and accelerate.
It's apparently a Mercedes-Benz C-Class. As you can see, gray in color, dark gray.
Trying to get more information on what exactly, if there is any specific information. Clearly, by calling these guys burglary suspects, that we know this wasn't just a random traffic stop.
Exactly.
You know, it wasn't a DUI or some situation like that. Obviously, they know a little bit more about this situation. Maybe that is why they tried to pull this car over. Wide open, opening much more so on the 210 eastbound as they continue to move eastward now, 70, 80 miles per hour.
Yeah, the farther east you go, it just starts to open wide. Look at that. He is going now way over 70, 75 miles an hour now.
That largely hasn't been my experience in going east on the 210.
You know, it's always pursuits that they have the wide open
Right.
roads.
We always say
Seems
they
that way.
defy logic in many ways,
know.
and sometimes it does defy logic when it comes to the traffic. They always seem to find a way through. Nevertheless, it doesn't necessarily mean the faster they go doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get away either. It's sometimes illogical, but the CHP vehicles can go just as fast and obviously faster than what they're capable of doing.
As we approach the 6:30 hour, our live coverage of this breaking news will continue streaming live on abc7.com. You can also watch it live on our website, and we're going to go to World News Tonight with David Muir on ABC7. Okay, we are streaming live on ABC7, this pursuit that happened I think it started about 25 minutes ago, started in Lakeview Terrace. We are now in the East San Gabriel Valley along the 210, traveling eastbound, probably right now we passed Irwindale. So we are, as soon as I can get a locator, I can let you know. But we know that there are 3 burglary suspects in this Mercedes, and we don't know what exactly other warrants might be out for these people, but we know that there are at least 3 people in this vehicle. It began pursued by the LAPD and switched over to the CHP, and that has been going on for a good 20 minutes now.
And this is Jory Rand joining the coverage here of this pursuit now eastbound on the 210. And as David Ono and Ellen, you were just talking about, it is shocking how clear the 210 is right now.
Right?
Where is this kind of openness anytime we have a story in San Bernardino or Riverside? Because
it's never when I'm driving on
This is not typical. And you see the police overhead right there. Is that a sheriff's chopper? CHP chopper keeping up with this pursuit right now. Last we saw 70, 80 miles an hour eastbound on the 210.
Yeah, traveling mostly on the carpool lane, but he'll head over to the shoulder of the road. He's just been weaving in and out of the traffic. But look at this, it's wide open. And it always amazes me, Jory, that where do they think they're actually going to go? Because you have the helicopter overhead, keeping an eye on them.
Right. We know there are certain circumstances where helicopters are not able to fly. If you're around an airport, anytime you're in LAX airspace, you can get in trouble. If you go up and over the mountains and one of the mountain passes, that's another possibility. But not really, there's nowhere to hide here on the 210. And often when we see kind of more urban settings, often a car will stop and passengers will get out and flee. That's not happening here on a freeway setting either. So however many people are inside of this car, we know it is multiple people that they are pursuing suspects here, and we're not going to see them likely evacuate the car on the freeway. Although now we're starting to see some traffic pick up.
Yeah, it's picking up there. We are apparently Lone Hill Road. I don't know what locator it would be. Still East San Gabriel Valley, obviously, on the 210 eastbound, but definitely slowing down a bit. They've been able to stay in that carpooling, which has been pretty quick.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like the glass is too tinted, so at some point we might be able to get a look inside the windows there of that car. Often you can see how many people are inside. You can tell what kind of state they are in, agitation, wild movements, gesticulations, things of that sort. But
haven't thrown anything out of the vehicle yet. We often see that with pursuits. Wow, really slowing down.
Yeah, down to 35 miles an hour, and you see, I think that's a CHP officer right behind. When the traffic was a little heavier, pursuing officers were pretty aggressive in trying to keep up, and they are there right behind. You still see that CHP vehicle right behind this C-Class vehicle driving in. Is this still an HOV lane? Yeah, double white there, HOV lane. On the 210, this is the carpool lane heading eastbound in the East San Gabriel Valley. And so on we watch to see what happens here. This is not a very eventful pursuit, but I would say that's what law enforcement would like to see.
Probably better.
Yeah, you don't want to see some of the dangerous maneuvers. Here we go. Tinted windows on the side, so it is difficult to see.
Yeah, really difficult.
Yeah, what is inside, who is inside, if there's any kind of weaponry, what their state of mind is, state of behavior. And so we wait, now down to about 25 miles an hour.
And we really don't know if they're armed. We really don't know have much information yet. At least we don't. Maybe they have more information on these people, but don't know if he's armed or if there are, in fact, 3 people for sure.
And so, forgive me, what was the last freeway interchange that they have passed here?
Oh, gosh.
Do we know?
They should be coming up on 57.
On the 57. Okay, so still a ways to go before you start looking at the 15 north or south, which way they're going to go. So several major freeway options, but in the left lane, that will take some maneuvering to get across these lanes of traffic. You wonder what the state of the gas tank situation is, how much fuel this car has, how long this can go, where they're headed, and how committed these people are to getting away. If they're in this for the long haul, if they're just going to keep driving until the tank runs out or they try something, but there's really nowhere to go in this situation. This is just a relatively, I don't want to say slow speed pursuit, because last we saw was about 70 miles an hour. I don't know how much the helicopter might have been interfering with that speed, but this looks like a pretty average speed pursuit here on the 210 freeway. Nothing too wild.
And if he keeps going eastbound on the 210, it eventually dumps out into the 10 in Redlands and heads out toward Palm Springs and Coachella Valley. So it's a matter of we just don't know if he has a full tank or not.
Right. Folks heading to Las Vegas know this route pretty well, or anywhere in the eastern San Gabriel Valley and beyond. Rancho Cucamonga, Riverside, San Bernardino, and ABC7 reporters know well when it's even further you start heading towards Hemet and well beyond.
Yep. 70, 80. Wow. Okay. That can't be right. Is he going 83 miles an hour? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the radar's a little hanky. I believe do we have Chris Christie standing by? No? Okay. En route. We should have Chris Christie momentarily here. Chopper 2, Air 7, another in our fleet, is headed that way. And so we wait. It does look like speeds have picked up a little bit. 80 miles an hour here, according to Air 7. But again, this is what they want. This is what law enforcement wants. You don't want any crazy driving. Yeah. You don't want excessive speeds. You don't want weaving.
He was driving on the shoulder of the road just a bit ago, but but thank goodness it hasn't been erratic speeds, horrible driving. I mean, it's just been garden variety pursuit in
you want uneventful. You want an uneventful chase. I can't tell. Is that
another lane of traffic that they just pulled out of. I see it. It looks like a double yellow. Are we in the section of 2 lanes of carpool? He's in the carpool lane right now, but there's another lane that he's been crossing into. That is indeed the shoulder.
Oh,
okay, yeah. So he has crossed over into the shoulder several times. In some areas, you see the double HOV lanes, but you can see there, double yellow to the left in the carpool lane that driver is in right now, crossing back over into full lanes of traffic, number 2 lane if you're counting the HOV. And we'll see what happens here. Can we see what traffic looks like up ahead, if this is going to continue on at this speed, or whether you think this will slow down here? Several cars here in the HOV lane and back onto the shoulder.
He's made it to the Claremont area now, so he's traveling. You know, he's keeps continue to go east. He'll be out in Azusa soon.
Yeah, and so we spoke a little too soon as far as uneventful. This is now driving on the shoulder.
Yeah, they get a little more desperate. They see that they're getting, you know, that helicopter is just right over that car. It's got to be a little intimidating to think, where are you going to go? There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, and you know there's a pursuing officer right behind, so they know they know they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, and
as
approaching
this point. Yeah.
Upland now, in Inland Empire.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. It looked like a bit of dust kicked up there in the. You can see dust trailing from behind those tires. So driving on the shoulder, there is a lot of garbage, dirt, dust, chopped up tires.
Yep.
That are in there. So if you start talking about speeds of, we're here at 80 miles an hour on the shoulder, eventually you're going to run into some problems.
Yeah.
And so now crossing back over into the HOV lane.
We'll have to see if he decides to stay on the 210 or the 15 freeways coming up, that he could exit there. But right now it looks like he's dead set on that carpool lane to the 210 East.
The Claremont Club. Okay, so in Claremont on the 210 here, Claremont Club?
Like Claremont Club, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, every time there's an underpass or an overpass, there you can see the cross street
right.
pops up for just a second. I keep trying to check it every time it goes by.
You gotta be really fast, Tori.
And this looks like, let's see if we can catch this here, and no, still 210, I know. Try and freeze frame that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Claremont Club.
Headed toward Mountain Avenue in Ontario.
Yeah, Claremont Club is just that section of the 210 where it bends a little north and then straightens back out due east in Claremont. So we're approaching Upland here, Rancho Cucamonga in a couple miles, and obviously beyond that we're talking Riverside, San Bernardino, or San Bernardino, Riverside.
Right.
And so Claremont, and it just goes. And it looks like traffic on this Tuesday at the 6:40 hour, which typically you would expect to see a little more traffic.
That's true.
It looks wide open right now, and I don't know if CHP or other law enforcement is pulling any traffic breaks, traffic stops, or blocking some on-ramps, but it is
pretty
wide
slow.
open.
It sure does.
Yeah, that's a good, quarter mile ahead of this car?
Easily. Yeah. He's got wide open space, and I guess he's going a little too fast to do any type of pit maneuver. If it did have a wide open space, could they even do it at this speed?
Yeah, you're talking about a serious risk of rollover
miles
and
an
flipping.
hour.
But again, I don't know if something just came off the car or whether that is just debris in the shoulder. But it looked like I saw a large piece of something. So I don't know if they were able to do any kind of spike strips at some point. No, nobody's seen that so far. So this is just debris that it's kicking up in the shoulder, and at speeds of 86, pushing 90 miles an hour on the shoulder, you can see pieces flying of debris. You always often see chunks of rubber from tires, just litter.
Right. And sometimes we've seen it is approaching some traffic now, but we've often seen these suspects, throw stuff out of the car, especially if they've getting rid of evidence, if they are burglary suspects, but we haven't seen any of that so far.
Yeah. Yeah, you also wonder about a stray nail or a bolt.
Yeah, exactly.
Any kind of, a large enough pebble can get in the tread of those tires and puncture. My family just experienced a punctured tire with a pebble this last week. Yeah, so it can do it at a high enough speed, hit at the right spot at the right time. You find a weak spot in the tire, it could happen. So it's still on the shoulder. right? Yeah, the pavement's throwing me off a little bit, but that is the shoulder, and closing in on the retaining wall there. But just straight going. So you have to wonder what these cars, the drivers of these cars that he's passing are thinking. You see a car zip by you at 85 miles an hour on the shoulder.
Yeah.
That in and of itself can be dangerous. You know,
Seriously.
how often if there's traffic do you just dip off onto the shoulder just to look around the car in front of you? That happens at the wrong time with a car going 90 miles an hour and you're talking about some serious trouble.
Wow. Right now he's about 8 miles from the 15 freeway, so we'll have to see what they decide to do. But yeah, I driving on that shoulder is definitely a dangerous situation.
Yeah, could be problematic. And now in Ontario, on the 210, an unknown number of burglary suspects inside this car attempted pullover, and the car took off. Again, we don't know how many people are inside, what their state of mind is. Obviously, their state of mind in general is to get away.
Yeah, exactly.
And now pulling into some traffic
And
here.
we do believe it's 3 burglary suspects, started in Lakeview Terrace, and now he's trying to weave in and out of traffic.
Yeah, we'll see if there's an exit here. Perhaps they're making their way over to the right lane to get off the freeway. You would think at speeds like this that perhaps an officer would step in and try and stop it, but with this many other cars around, it's not something you're going to really see them do unless the situation would warrant, and right now it does not look like it does.
Oh, there's a van. There goes that news van.
Yeah, so there's a good view right there. Hi, guys. Keep up the great work. See if you can keep up safely with what's going on here. We'll check in with you later tonight, but this continues with Highway Patrol in pursuit now in the number 4 lane. And again, we're waiting to see at Foothill Freeway if an exit is upcoming, but now we're crossing back over number 2 lane and back over into the HOV. So it looks like we're about back up to 60 miles an hour or so in this pursuit, 72, and back up to speed as our signal's cutting out a little bit. You wonder if that's just sheer distance or if that is the heat, but this is video from earlier of this pursuit.
Yeah, this is when he was really weaving in and out of traffic. This is back to the live shot, I believe, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Back on the live. So yeah, he's approaching the 15, and it'll be the 215, and after that the 10. So we'll see what they decide to do. But now it's back to 90 miles an hour.
Yeah. How long will we stay on the 210?
Rancho Cucamonga area now. So he's made a lot of clocked some miles on this car.
Yeah.
And we don't know if this car is reported stolen or not. We haven't heard any other information. Very little coming into us.
Yeah. Do we see plates on the back?
Don't know.
It's tough to tell with the sun reflecting whether that's hitting the. Yeah, it looks like there's a plate on there. So by now, law enforcement knows whether this is likely knows whether this is a stolen car or not. But onward we go.
Yeah, I always think about the people that are in the car with the suspect driving. You know, that's got to be a horrible situation. I can't even imagine. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. We see, so we have two choppers on this. Chris Christie is on his way in another, in our fleet, and it looks like the traffic being left behind this pursuit is starting to back up on the 210 eastbound, where we saw pretty free-flowing action here. 86 able to go, obviously on the shoulder, you're talking a different story, but at times it was just wide open. Behind what we're seeing on this camera, there is a pretty heavy flow of cars backing up, because once you have a lot of cars pulling over when they see the law enforcement, the lights and sirens. They're going to pull over. It's going to slow things down, and what was a pretty easy Tuesday commute looks like it is bogging down.
Exactly. And we do have Chris Christie in Air 7 HD. And Chris, do you know anything about these suspects?
Well, so far, I can only report what you guys have been talking about, but as we get a better glimpse behind him here, I can tell you, unfortunately, as I look at the situation from back here and also looking at our maps, the 210 really doesn't clear up for him. That carpool lane is a bit of a luxury right now, but really, the main lanes are pretty steadily, you have seen a lot of volume for a Tuesday afternoon here, but of course, we are in the prime of rush hour, so it doesn't completely surprise me. It makes a lot of sense, but obviously he has had a lot of luck in his way here, as he's had that carpool lane completely to himself. And the further east he gets, I can tell that there are more and more units joining the pursuit, and these are all, rest assured, California Highway Patrol units at that. So they are getting ready for a major felony stop once these three eventually either run out of gas or give themselves up. If they potentially make a run for it and foot bail, that's the other scenario. There has been talk of a spike strip. Interestingly, you can see there's people that are actually streaming this and actually pulling over on that overpass there to catch a glimpse of this pursuit. But there was talk of a spike strip. That would be highly unorthodox, but as you guys know, we do see it occasionally from time to time when the situation and the circumstances are just right. You might once in a while see a spike attempt on the freeway, but with this much traffic, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to my mind, unless they find themselves in an area that's more secluded or with a lot less traffic, to say the least. But you can see here, as we get closer, the volume kind of breaks up a little bit, but he's still very much committed to that #1 lane at about 80 miles per hour. So not extreme speeds, but certainly doing just over the speed limit at a pretty steady clip here. At times he was slowing down with traffic, but then once he sees a straightaway, picking up right up to 80 to 90 miles per hour, and here comes another slowdown in that #1 lane. And as we look at it from this view, I count at least 5. Is there a 6th one back there, Rob?
Yeah, there are several more further back.
A 6th and another one. So a few more, closer to 8 to 10 units altogether in this pursuit. That's 8 to 10 behind him. The big question in my mind is how many are in front of him? Are they trying to create traffic breaks? Are they trying to meet up with him at entrance ramps or exit ramps up ahead here? You see this fake out that we've seen a number of times over the course of this pursuit as well. He'll get over to the left or over to the right where he sees an exit ramp, and then at the last minute swerves over the gore point as if he thinks he's going to lose those officers behind him. So far, he has had no such luck and is just continuing to play these games. But again, law enforcement has all the time in the world to play these games. He only has a finite amount of fuel in that tank, guys.
Yeah, and you talk about traffic that's picking up. It becomes a bit of a moot point when this car just decides to use, the driver just decides to use the shoulder where it is wide open. And the spike strip, I cannot see a situation where you would expose an officer to trying to lay that down with a car driving at 80, 90 miles an hour and not a lot of room. You have the Jersey barrier. You find that officer exposed to some serious danger. And so I would not expect to see that, Chris. But again, as you said, we have seen crazier things happen in some of these pursuits. And again, this car on the shoulder, I don't know if you caught that, but a pickup truck was in the HOV lane and tried to pull over onto the shoulder, seeing the emergency vehicles, but not realizing that car was using the shoulder as the roadway.
Almost looked like he was trying to get involved there. You certainly saw some erratic moves by that pickup truck, and now you can see, as you said, Jory, he is fully utilizing that left shoulder. Now, for the next several miles, that's going to be fine, but as you get much further towards the east, there are limited shoulder opportunities along the 210 freeway. You mentioned the spike strip. One of the opportunities they may have been planning for and may still be planning for is if he gets off at an exit ramp. It's very difficult, as you said, to deploy the spike strip across the main lanes of a freeway. But it's much easier when you get to an exit ramp where there's only one lane and maybe a shoulder to play with. If he shows signs of exiting, you could potentially set up at exit ramps up ahead, and then you have a much better shot of possibly spiking one or both tires. But in any event, you can see for now that appears to be off the window because he's all the way over in that carpool lane, weaving around anybody in his way and making full use of that left shoulder at a pretty high clip here. We'll go ahead and pop up the real real-time speed tracker. I think we're still looking at triple-digit speeds now as he gets further east here into San Bernardino, where traffic is much more free-flowing. Very little slowdown from here on out. He could take this all the way out to the east and have nothing, really nothing hindering him whatsoever. But of course, the more he accelerates to triple-digit speeds, the faster he's going to go through the fuel in that Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, that car is moving right now, and you almost hope that driving on the shoulder at this kind of speed that maybe something there, a piece of debris, acts as its own spike strip. It won't have the same effect. Where what makes those spike strips so amazing, as you know, Chris, are the spikes come off and remain open for air to flow freely out of those tires, and it breaks it down pretty quickly. That would not happen with a nail or a bolt or something, some kind of piece of debris in the shoulder that you would hope would inflict some damage to the tire, but you never know. I don't know how often street sweepers come through and clear those lanes, but I know driving on our local freeways, there is often a lot of debris.
Yeah, you're right about that, Jory. Run-flat tires could go a little bit further, but it would still hopefully have the effect of at least impeding the handling of the vehicle. The actual steering could change a little bit, and you could still see some benefits of a successful spike. But in any event, that's, like I said, for now, still off the table. But the number of CHP units dedicated to this pursuit is really catching my eye, and I presume that will continue as they continue to hand this off to neighboring agencies. Last I heard, this was Baldwin Park, but I believe that some of these units by now must be Rancho Cucamonga units that have taken over this pursuit and will continue this pursuit for a ways to go before we get closer to Palm Springs. And now you can see we're getting much closer to this Mercedes-Benz, which is very heavily tinted, almost illegally tinted, I would say, from my vantage point. Impossible at this angle to see through those windows. I am getting a lot of static in my ear. I'm not sure where that's coming from. If that's that might be you. Try UHF4. Let's just see. Stand by 1 second here. Still pretty bad. But anyways, guys, he now has that entire freeway to himself. If those units, by the way, are in a position where they are forced to pull back for whatever reason, which I don't anticipate, they do have that California Highway Patrol helicopter right above it all, calling the shots. So that helicopter overhead is calling out the speed and location, and those units on the ground can then concentrate on just continuing the pursuit at a safe distance without having to worry about a whole lot of extra communication or radio traffic. They're right behind them. They've got plenty of officers dedicated here, and now it becomes a much safer situation. Always safer on the freeway, but when you have a wide open freeway like this with not many other motorists in the vicinity, then you have the opportunity to get a little more creative. And it looks like he's getting off. This
is 215, right?
At the 215 freeway. That's the 215, and he will have the option here. I believe he still has the option of going, southbound. Now he's committed to the southbound side. Something just flew off of that vehicle, or he may have just run something over. I saw some sparks there, but he is now committed to the southbound side of the 210 freeway, where, by the way, traffic remains relatively light here, but at least he's going to stay in the metro area of San Bernardino. He's not going to continue into the desert at this direction. He's going to go southbound on the 215 freeway. And maybe we'll start to figure out whether he has connections out here, whether he is familiar with this area, or whether he's just continuing this joyride along the freeway. But as long as he's on the freeway, that's where law enforcement would like to keep it. Guys, I'm going to hand it off to you for just a second until I figure out where the static. Oh, it might be.
Yeah, you got it.
That's just coming from.
You got it, Chris. Okay, so now 215 south. This now gives this driver the opportunity to head back into the LA metro area on a number of outlets, but anytime I see a car heading east like this car was, you wonder whether they're going to try and go up over one of the mountain passes where helicopters might have some trouble making it up and over. You talk about fuel and you talk about elevation, but now is this, so he might have just exited off of the 215. This is, no, it wouldn't be the 10. We're still too far north, I think, for the 10. This might be the 66?
He's right there. He's right there on the 215, guys. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
And now coming to, now off of the freeway, this is at baseline.
He's at the exit ramp.
Yeah.
Okay, he's on surface streets, making a left now on Baseline, going westbound on Baseline Avenue, and now maybe preparing
back on?
to go the opposite way
Yeah.
on the 215 freeway, doing a 180, and now going back northbound on the 215 freeway. And that's what I was starting to get at there. If we see these kinds of turns, it tells you, wait a minute, I'm not so comfortable. I don't know my way around here, or my final destination is not going in the direction that he was going. So for whatever reason, we're speculating, but for whatever reason, he's decided to go ahead and reverse course, get off the freeway, and now going the opposite way, northbound on the 215 freeway. Now, I would expect him to stay on the 215 freeway all the way up to the Cajon Pass, because if he gets onto the 210, which he could do, then he knows he's in for some more traffic, and something tells me that this guy does not want to keep fighting that traffic that he's been fighting for the better part of the last hour or so. That's just a guess, but obviously he may have a destination in mind, and that might be taking priority. In any event, he's going northbound now on the 215 freeway towards the Cajon Pass. We'll see. A wild, look at them, cutting off
really
that Mack
fast
truck.
move.
A wild swerve in front of that 18-wheeler. A great move if you're trying to lose those officers, but there's plenty behind them to make up for that last-minute move. Another wild left-hand turn through that, fortunately, green light. And now this pursuit, again, back on surface streets, taking on a more dangerous profile here. And now we can expect a possible pit maneuver here if they see an opportunity. One has to believe that pit maneuver has been authorized by now.
You would think, and it almost looked like that pursuing officer thought about it and just kind of realized there were too many cars around. But once you see a vehicle like this being pursued take wild movements like that, you can feel the desperation and the danger ratchet up pretty quickly and pretty noticeably. And it seemed like that officer knew what was going on, realized what was happening here, and thought about it, but then just didn't have the situational go ahead to be able to pull that off. And now we are on Highland Avenue, back on side streets. You know, we said early on here that it was an uneventful pursuit, and that's what you want to see from law enforcement's perspective. Blowing through a red light, it just turned green, but you see people there. I don't know if that was a baby stroller or a shopping cart, but you see people at intersections, and you have a car going this fast, Chris, you start talking about some real dangerous possibilities.
You've got innocent motorists left and right, pedestrians. What was an uneventful pursuit may very quickly become very eventful here. Here comes the pit right along the right fender there, and spinning that Mercedes out of control, doing a full 180 and disabling that vehicle for now. We'll see if there's anything left in the tank there. He has come to a complete stop. He is now facing southbound, face to face with these 3 CHP units. Head on now with his hands and arms in the air, driver getting out of the vehicle. It is over for him. He understands that that vehicle wasn't going anywhere, and his time is up. The driver calmly giving up here, proned out, assuming the position right there in front of those officers, appears to be obeying the commands. But remember, there are 2 other suspects that we are aware of inside that vehicle. So a textbook pit maneuver to finish this guy off and end this pursuit. Exactly the way they train at the academy. A perfect 180 face-to-face with those officers. Immediately they all jumped out, and the suspect fortunately gave up as they now attempt to detain the driver of that Mercedes-Benz. Again, we don't know if that Mercedes belongs to this guy or perhaps if it was indeed a stolen vehicle. We only know that the original one was burglary. These are burglary suspects as CHP, and it appears San Bernardino Sheriff now involved in this pursuit as they appear to be taking over this arrest here. It looks like a number of different agencies, including, does that say ATF? I'm not sure. What does that vest say?
It says police.
It's just police.
The
Okay,
LA
I'm sorry.
police, yeah.
I thought I saw, I thought I saw something else.
I think
Never
it says
mind.
Laverne.
It could be a number of different agencies, including Laverne, which is not too far away. Also, you've got Fontana and San Bernardino. In any event, you can see them still very cautiously pointing their weapons at that vehicle, about to approach it momentarily. They definitely can probably make out those other suspects by now, but again, through those heavily tinted windows, it could be difficult, but I would expect they will begin approaching that vehicle momentarily using the PA system to give those orders for the passengers to one by one step out of the vehicle. What we're not seeing, by the way,
Right, I don't
is
see
either of
anyone
those
else in there, do
passenger
you?
doors open.
I don't.
I don't.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't.
These are obviously
Like,
dark tinted windows, and we were told there were multiple suspects. But given how quickly the driver got out, Chris, I'm surprised that if there is somebody else in the car, that they haven't given up as quickly. It's rare you see. I mean, this was a driver who
Here comes somebody
knew.
else. Here comes somebody
There we
else.
go.
Here comes the passenger climbing out of the back seat into the driver's seat, over the center console. Now, about to give himself up. Hopefully, here we will see. He may be injured. I'm not sure. He is collapsing out
Someone
of
else
this vehicle.
inside.
And now another person visible in the passenger seat. So that would add up to 3. If there is a 4th, we don't know. But that passenger from the back seat crawling over the driver's side onto the pavement there with his hands up appears to be cooperating as well. This would be suspect number 2 out of the back seat, driver in custody, and then one more person in the passenger seat who will be ordered out of the vehicle. But it doesn't appear, and you got to wonder why he didn't just come out of the back seat the good old-fashioned way by opening those doors, but for some reason he climbed out. Maybe the child lock was on, who knows. But in any event, now they are getting ready to order that third suspect who is sitting in that passenger seat out of the vehicle. And we would expect, if she intends on giving up, she will be coming out as well in just a few seconds. But right now, you can see not much movement coming from that passenger seat, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, now you see the officers backing away, and I don't know if this is a case of someone being non-compliant or they're just kind of regrouping to assess what's going to happen here. But this person doesn't appear to be moving inside, not making any motions to get out.
I'm going to put my chips on non-compliant, and you can see that canine at the ready.
Yeah, now here we go.
That will be
Here
the
we
first.
go. We see some movement coming out now.
She is now thinking better of it and now coming out with her hands up, and good for her, because that canine unit was ready to pounce the driver's seat of that vehicle if she didn't. And you can see, fortunately, it looks like this pursuit is coming to a peaceful resolution, but the suspects obviously taking their time crawling out of the vehicle. But fortunately, all's well that ends well. Fortunately, nobody hurt over the course of this high-speed pursuit out of the San Fernando Valley. LAPD, San Bernardino, CHP, a number of agencies bringing this pursuit to a peaceful resolution.
Yeah, you have to imagine that it was made known that they have a canine unit there who they were about to send in if they had to, if no movement was made, because it looked like this woman did not want to get out. And then very quickly the decision was made to do so. But as I was saying earlier, Chris, it's rare you see a driver just know it's up. The jig is up, it's over, and he just got out and gave up. You know, we usually, it takes a little more time or some kind of fight left in him. He had nothing left, and it was, that's, you know, you'd rather not see a pursuit, but when it comes to an end, that's exactly what you want to see. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. Out of gas, literally and figuratively, immediately putting his hands in the air, because if he doesn't show his hands, the risk to his life becomes dramatically questionable. So the first thing that he did is exactly the correct thing, which was to show his hands and arms, put them up in the air. That's exactly what they were ordering him to do. The vehicle, fortunately, was immobilized. Once that inertia switch was flipped, that pit maneuver has the effect of disabling the vehicle completely, and it would require a full restart to turn the vehicle back on. Fortunately, that was not attempted, and he gave himself right up. And you can see uniformed and unmarked, plainclothes officers at the end of this pursuit from a number of different agencies, most likely bringing these suspects back into LA County.
Yeah, and once again, kudos to that officer who pulled off the pit maneuver. We have seen many fail in the past. That was textbook, as you said, Chris. Perfect. You can see exactly where that car is lined up with the street lines. I mean, it was just such a perfect maneuver. It brought this to such a quick end, and you can see lined up there facing the opposite direction. Well done to that officer.
That's right. One more for the CHP highlight reel, and 3 dangerous people off the road. Fortunately, what could have been so dangerous at the speeds that they were traveling and weaving through traffic, again, when it was on the freeway, you breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief.
Yeah.
But once he got off the freeway, continuing those erratic moves and those wild left turns, I just start to take a deep breath, because you just never know what kind of a miscalculation that driver could make, and how much more dangerous these pursuits become. And fortunately, they wasted no time right off the freeway, and within a couple of minutes, they saw their opportunity. He took it, and a very well-earned state dinner for him tonight, because we have exchanged some videotape of that pit maneuver now that we can replay. Just a perfect pit to end his day.
Yeah, that driver gets the win or the save, however you want to classify this in baseball, but and we even have a rewind and a replay, just like they do in sports. Okay, so all clear here. Can't see that enough. Great job, and then the officer just gets on out of there, because they would be in the line of fire. But Chris Christie, thank you for hustling to this scene and adding to this coverage. Invaluable, and we thank you for this, and we'll see you at the next one, I'm sure.
You got it, guys. That's right. Thank you, thank you. You got it, guys. No problem.